Imagine soaring high above a sprawling cityscape, the world unfolding beneath you in a breathtaking panorama, only for that serene experience to be shattered by a fiery confrontation at 5,000 feet. What happens when the seasoned actor Terrence Howard, known for his commanding screen presence, finds himself locked in a heated argument with his helicopter pilot mid-flight? This isn't a scripted scene from a blockbuster. It's a real-life showdown that left passengers and onlookers stunned, sparking a debate about safety, pride, and the price of trust in the skies. It was a picture-perfect Saturday in Los Angeles. The city was bathed in the warm glow of a late spring afternoon, with the Pacific breeze gently swaying the palms that lined the streets. Terrence Howard had decided to take a much-needed break from the glare of Hollywood's spotlight. He booked a private helicopter tour to experience the city from a new perspective, a chance to see the glittering skyline, the endless highways, and the ocean stretching to the horizon. Joining him on this flight was a small group of friends and colleagues, all eager to share in the excitement of an aerial adventure. The helicopter, a sleek black aircraft polished to a mirror shine, awaited at the heliport. Its rotor blades whirred steadily, and the hum of its engine promised a smooth, uneventful flight. The pilot, Captain Ron Davis, a veteran with decades of flight experience and a calm, measured demeanor, greeted the group with a firm handshake and a confident smile. His uniform was immaculate, and his eyes betrayed a certainty that only years of military and commercial flying could instill. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was one of relaxed anticipation. Terrence, dressed casually in a light jacket and comfortable jeans, adjusted his headset and settled into his seat. He glanced around at the other passengers, friends sharing excited chatter about the upcoming view of downtown Los Angeles, and even exchanged a few friendly nods. For a moment, all was as it should be. The helicopter lifted off smoothly, the ground steadily receding as the aircraft ascended into the clear blue sky. Below, Los Angeles spread out like a glittering mosaic, the city's grid of streets, parks, and skyscrapers a testament to human ingenuity. For the first few minutes, everyone was transfixed by the awe-inspiring views. Terrence even leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the horizon as he marveled at the breathtaking scenery. But as the helicopter began to level out at cruising altitude, Terrence noticed something that made him shift uncomfortably in his seat. There was a slight, almost imperceptible tilt to the left, a subtle but persistent drift that he wasn't used to feeling. Having flown on private helicopters before, he was quick to sense when something wasn't quite right. "Captain Davis." Terrence called out over the intercom, his voice calm but laced with concern. "Is it normal for us to be tilting to the left like this?" From the cockpit came a measured response. "Mr. Howard, we're experiencing a minor crosswind at this altitude. I've adjusted the controls accordingly. Please relax, it's perfectly safe," Captain Davis replied, his tone even and confident. But Terrence wasn't entirely reassured. He had a reputation for being meticulous and wasn't one to blindly trust even the most experienced professionals when something fell off. "I understand your experience, Captain, but this drift feels a bit stronger than what I'd expect from a gentle crosswind," Terrence pressed, his tone steady yet insistent. A brief pause followed on the intercom. Then, with a touch of impatience that belied his calm exterior, Captain Davis responded, "Mr. Howard, I assure you, everything is under control. We're well within the parameters of safe flight." The conversation might have ended there, but as the flight continued, Terrence's unease grew. Over the next several minutes, the helicopter's movements became slightly erratic, small lurches and unexpected shifts that seemed to contradict the pilot's assurances. The cabin, once filled with pleasant chatter and the soft murmur of awe, now fell into a tense silence as Terrence exchanged worried glances with his friends. "Captain Davis, we're still tilting noticeably," Terrence said again, this time his voice edged with frustration. "I'm not trying to question your expertise, but can you please explain why we're experiencing these continuous adjustments?" There was a slight crack in the pilot's response this time. "Mr. Howard, I've been flying for over 20 years. These adjustments are routine in response to variable wind conditions. I need you to trust my judgment here." Trust. It was a word that carried weight, especially when your life and the lives of everyone on board hung in the balance. Terrence's mind raced. As an actor, he was accustomed to high-pressure situations, but the prospect of potential danger at thousands of feet was a different matter altogether. "I'm not questioning your experience, Captain, but I have to ask, are these maneuvers really necessary?" It feels like we're constantly battling an unstable condition. At this point, the tension in the cabin was palpable. Other passengers shifted uncomfortably in their seats, their eyes darting between Terrence and the cockpit door, as if expecting a dramatic showdown. Even one of Terrence's close friends, James, leaned forward and murmured, "Terry, maybe just let it go. You're safe up here." But Terrence wasn't ready to let it go. "Safe doesn't mean reckless," he replied. His voice had taken on a sharper edge now. "When you're up here, every decision matters. If we're tilting too much, that's not just a minor inconvenience, it's a potential hazard." Captain Davis's voice crackled back over the intercom, and it was clear that he was growing irritated. "Sir, I have this under control. I'd appreciate it if you trusted the professional handling this aircraft." The words were delivered with a hint of sarcasm that didn't sit well with Terrence. A beat of silence followed, heavy with unspoken anger and anxiety. Then, unexpectedly, the helicopter encountered a sudden burst of turbulence. The aircraft lurched violently to the left, causing cups to rattle and a few passengers to gasp. Terrence's heart pounded in his chest as he gripped the armrest. In that split second, every concern he had voiced now became a matter of life and death. "Captain, what the hell?" Terrence shouted, his voice louder than he intended. The shock of the turbulence had jolted everyone awake to the gravity of the situation. Captain Davis's reply was terse. "That was the wind. Stay calm." But the damage was done. The cabin was now filled with a mix of fear and outrage. Terrence's gaze hardened as he continued, "If you're that confident, then explain why your adjustments aren't stabilizing the flight." A murmur ran through the passengers. James tried to intervene. "Terry, calm down." But Terrence cut him off, his eyes locked on the cockpit door as if daring the pilot to justify his actions. For several agonizing minutes, the helicopter continued its erratic dance with the wind. Every time the aircraft tilted, Terrence's anxiety surged, and every time Captain Davis issued a dismissive response, his own frustration mounted. Finally, as the helicopter began its descent toward the heliport, Terrence could no longer hold back his discontent. As soon as the rotor blade slowed and the landing gear touched down, Terrence was the first to unbuckle his seatbelt. The helicopter's cabin door swung open, and a rush of cooler air flooded in, carrying away some of the lingering tension. Terrence stepped out onto the tarmac, his face a mix of relief and simmering anger. Before he could fully compose himself, he strode over to the pilot's door, where Captain Davis was waiting with a stiff, professional smile. "You ever pull a stunt like that again," Terrence said in a low, measured tone that nonetheless carried a fierce edge, "and you're going to have a real problem." Captain Davis frowned slightly, his pride wounded. "Sir, if you had any faith in my abilities, you wouldn't be making baseless accusations. I handled the flight as safely as possible given the conditions." "Baseless?" Terrence retorted, his voice rising just enough for nearby ground crew and a couple of curious onlookers to overhear. "When lives are at stake, I'm not willing to take your word for it. I want to know that you're taking every possible precaution, because trust in the skies isn't a luxury, it's a necessity." The exchange drew the attention of others on the tarmac. A flight attendant, who had been quietly noting down comments in a small notebook, stepped forward to mediate. "Gentlemen, let's keep this professional," she said softly. "We all want everyone to get home safely." But the tension was far from diffused. Terrence's friends gathered around him, offering quiet words of support, while few other passengers who had witnessed the ordeal gave him sympathetic nods. In the midst of this, Terrence's mind was already racing ahead to what the fallout might be. The incident, no doubt, would soon be splashed across social media and news outlets. Was a matter of pride, a desperate attempt to ensure safety, or a clash of egos high above the city? In the hours that followed, as Terrence sat in the quiet of his hotel room, reviewing the events on his phone, the reality of the situation sank in. Videos of the turbulent flight and the subsequent argument had already started circulating online. Headlines flashed: Terrence Howard's fiery in-flight confrontation, safety or showmanship, and actors battle for control at 5,000 feet sparks debate on trust in aviation. The public was divided. Some praised his willingness to speak up for safety, while others accused him of being unnecessarily confrontational. Later that evening, Terrence agreed to a private interview with a trusted journalist. In a calm, reflective tone, he explained, "I'm not trying to be difficult. I just believe that when you're entrusted with other people's lives, every detail matters. I wanted to ensure that nothing was overlooked, that every maneuver was done with precision. When you see even a hint of negligence, you have to question it. The interview resonated with many. Social media lit up with support for his stance, while aviation experts weighed in on the technical aspects of the flight. Some defended Captain Davis's decisions, explaining that minor turbulence was indeed something pilots are trained to handle. Others, however, agreed with Terrence, suggesting that in moments of unpredictability, even experienced professionals should be open to feedback from those who have a keen sense of safety. Over the next few days, Terrence found himself at the center of a broader discussion about trust in aviation, the responsibility of those in command, and the sometimes fine line between confidence and arrogance. In a follow-up statement posted on his verified social media accounts, he wrote, "Today's incident was a reminder that even in the most controlled environments, vigilance is key. I stand by my belief that questioning, when done constructively, can only make us all safer." The story of the in-flight confrontation eventually faded from a mainstream spotlight, as most viral moments do. But for Terrence Howard, it was a transformative experience, one that deepened his understanding of responsibility, trust, and the weight of every decision made in the cockpit. It wasn't just about an argument, it was about ensuring that, high above the sprawling city below, every life on board was treated with the utmost care and respect. In the end, as Terrence returned to the rhythm of his daily life, the incident remained a vivid reminder that even the smallest concerns can become critical when you're thousands of feet in the air. And for those who witnessed that day, the story of Terrence Howard's brave stand for safety would be remembered as much more than just a celebrity spat. It would be a testament to the importance of accountability and trust in every aspect of our lives.